Welcome to the Fall to Grace podcast, a show dedicated to those who have stumbled, struggled, failed, and fallen, perhaps more than once. Our message offers encouragement, hope, and connection to turn your personal shame and suffering from a fall to grace. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will enjoy today's episode.
All right, welcome to Fall to Grace podcast, everybody. I don't know if everybody means one person or no person or maybe many people. I don't know who's going to ever hear this or see this podcast or my series of podcasts that I'll be doing over the next weeks and months. But I'm here to tell a story. I'm a storyteller by heart. I come from a long line of storytellers. My father was a storyteller. His father was a storyteller. To be honest, this is not the story that I thought I would live to tell, as they say. But it is my story, and I am happy and pleased that I can share it with you, that I'm here to share it with you. You know, when I was a young man, I wanted to be a sportscaster, and I wanted to be in television and broadcasting and all that, but my path didn't go that direction. But at some point, I actually thought that I would be very successful and, you know, that I was going to be the next Anthony Robbins, you know, that I would have the success story that would change the world. I'm not that man. My story is one that's very difficult to tell, but tell it I must regardless. You know, I've watched podcasts over the last few years, and so many of the podcasters and influencers are people who appear to have everything going for them. They're successful, you know, they're influencers, they're the top G's of the world. You know, they manifest their spectacularness and their wealth and their happiness and their perfect homes and their perfect lives and their perfect children and all the extensive travel they get to enjoy to all these far away and exotic locales. Perhaps my story will not resonate with any of those people. But they're the 1%, the ones that seemingly have escaped the bonds of this world to find success in all that they touch. And this is not that podcast. I am not a 1%er. I'm just a human being who has been and is fragile, broken, yet somehow stronger and a more capable person, more comfortable in my own skin than I've ever been. Ernest Hemingway said, "The world breaks everyone, but afterwards, some are stronger in the broken places." At one point, I thought I might write a book, and I actually had written a brief introduction, and the introduction was going to go something like this. This is a book about how my life turned into a joke. I'm the author and the finisher and the butt of my own joke. I am, in the echoing words of one of my lifelong friends, an asshole. I threw away my life, my name, my reputation, my career. I broke the hearts of my children, my wife, my family, and my friends. I broke the trust of my employer, my colleagues, the people who entrusted me with a sacred trust. I made every worst mistake a person can make, short of murder. In short, because of my choices and actions, I ended up incarcerated, a convicted felon. And upon my release, I was branded a monster, a predator, a registered sex offender, a pariah of society, no longer welcome in my own home, in family circles, my community, or my church, or my profession. I was told in no uncertain terms by a variety of people, including lifelong friends, strangers who I've never met, as well as those to whom I'd given and received love over the course of my life, to eat shit and die. And not just to die, but to die horribly and miserably while experiencing excruciating agony, and then at the end of it all, to burn in hell forever, suffering eternally for what I had done, except there was only one problem. I wasn't dead. I was still alive. If you've ever failed or lost everything, or if you've ever broken promises or really hurt people, then this podcast is maybe for you. And for those that love you and those that know you, or for those of you that know someone maybe in your own immediate family, like me, or maybe someone in your extended family, or your intimate circle of friends from the current day, or maybe even from long ago. The question for me, and for those who may have failed or witnessed a family member destroy their own lives, or know someone who is falling terribly, what do you do and where do you go and how can your life go on? So I had to ask myself those questions. What do I do now? I'm alive, I'm breathing in and out, and my life is rubble. I have nothing to show for all of the work that I'd done to that point. Let me remind you of a harsh reality. No one is coming to save you. The cavalry is not coming over the hill. There are no Navy SEALs of divine intervention that will come and rescue you. You have to do it. You have to suffer the consequences and to die and be born again, so to speak. Perhaps all alone. Maybe for a long time. I promise you, however, you are not alone. You at least have one companion. And I promise you that there's another. It feels very alone, though, and for a long time and for much of the time. People describe how the Lord takes care of his own with tender mercies. I promise you at times it will feel neither tender nor merciful. You will experience or have experienced or continue to experience maybe some of the following, like I experienced: shame, isolation, loneliness, loss, grief, as if you're observing your own funeral, sorrow, pain, stigma, scandal, self-doubt, self-disgust, and humiliation, to name a few. But I promise you, if you will listen and learn from my mistakes and from my very tiny wins that add up to major victories, I promise you that you will experience gratitude, resilience, authenticity, progress, forgiveness, healing, growth, freedom, humility. That will come from a lot of work and the setting of intentions, being mindful, purposeful, and being a different person, being a new man, a new woman, a new child. In a sense, this podcast is about miracles. If it's really about anything, it is about miracles. I look forward to sharing the story of miracles and the fall to grace that I have experienced over the past 7 years. When I first discussed creating this podcast with those that are assisting me, I was asked if this podcast was meant to be faith-based. I want to be perfectly clear that I'm not worthy to carry the cross. I'm not worthy to have anyone look to me for anything other than a signpost pointing to the Savior. In a sense, I'm like Wayne and Garth. I'm not worthy. But it is in my foundational faith and in my precipitous fall that I have found that indeed the Lord is tender and merciful. This is the Fall to Grace podcast. I hope you will continue to listen to my story and be encouraged and perhaps inspired to keep trying, to reach out to someone, to forgive, to show love and encouragement to those who need it most and perhaps deserve it least. Thank you for joining me today.